Hello, everyone. I am Lillie Mae, and welcome to another Glambitious Summit. The theme for today is the top voices of 2026. So, I'm bringing you a few amazing voices that you can be inspired by and that hopefully you connect with. If this is your first time tuning in, I urge you to visit hervisibility.com and check out the membership that I've created for women in business. It includes tons of opportunities to be featured on podcasts, speak on platforms, access grant and paid opportunities to elevate your business and brand in 2026. So again, visit hervisibility.com to check out this dynamic membership. Also, we are on the road this year. We're going to Essence Fest this summer. We're also going to Martha's Vineyard this summer. So many amazing events coming up. And if you're interested in attending or speaking, you can visit theglamceo.com to learn more about those speaking opportunities. Without further ado, I'm going to bring our first speaker to the virtual stage. Miss Angela, I'll let you take it away.
Hello. Well, thank you so much, Lillie Mae. I am super excited to be here, and I see Rosalind is on the virtual stage as well. Hello to all of our viewers. This is a beautiful month where we get to highlight women and the accomplishments so that we know that we can do the thing and we have people in our corner. Today, I want to talk to you about 3 ups that every high achieving woman needs in order to have health, energy, and sustainable success. I broke up with busyness. I gave up the grind and I hung up the hustle. And those decisions changed everything. You can be successful and be exhausted. You can be high performing and run on empty. And there are times when many high achieving women will ask this quiet question: does success have to feel this heavy? Well, I was one of those women because I was going, going, going. I was what many of us will call a superwoman. I showed up, I did the thing, I was doing it all, and I was hustling. Now, my letter was S. I would say I have this S on my chest for superwoman, but maybe your letter is S for strong woman. It could be P for people pleaser or perfectionist, or maybe it's the I for I feel like I'm an imposter. Or it could be the Lone Ranger where you've decided I'm just going to do everything myself. Well, mine was S, and I was going, going, going. But the way that I was going about it was not healthy and it wasn't sustainable. I was hustling. Now, hustle is a word that we say often and we hear it a lot. Hustle is a song. And if you're a kid of the 70s, we heard that song, Do the Hustle, and we danced to it because what we now call line dancing, we used to call the hustle, where people are doing the same moves at the same time. So, young people, this is not anything new. Well, there is a hustle culture. It's the way of living and it's a way of thinking that says that we have to prove our worth. We have to produce, produce, produce in order to be successful. And we have to push through when we really should be taking the time to rest and rejuvenate. And this hustle culture, this hustle lifestyle that is opposite to the wellness lifestyle drains us and is not helpful for health. And women, we are experiencing the effects of this hustle culture more than men. Each year, there are articles and there are studies done looking at women in the workplace and looking at how are we managing it all. Whether we refer to ourselves as busy professional woman or career woman, or we say, I'm a high performer, or I'm a high achiever, or I am ambitious, we are experiencing some things. There was a recent article in Forbes that demonstrated that we are struggling with this work-life balance, meaning how do we bring life and work together to cooperate and harmonize instead of being competitive? Studies tell us that women, we experience stress in ways that are different from men. And a recent study by the American Psychological Association revealed to us that our stress scores for women were higher than men, many times rating stress as 7, 8, or 9 out of 10, and those numbers were lower for men. And what about burnout? What about the studies we see about the women in the workplace? And every year there's a major study that will look at and tell us how are we faring in this workplace. And guess what? Almost 50% of us are experiencing burnout. Is that you? Do you find that you're so stretched thin or you're going at such a fast pace or you're hustling and grinding, and instead of feeling at ease and flowing, that you feel as though if I put one more thing on my plate, that the plates may fall, that I'm juggling, that I'm overloaded and overwhelmed. Well, I'm going to put up one hand and I'm going to put up two hands, because there was a time when that was me. I was overcommitted. Remember, I had that S on my chest. I was overextended and I was overloaded. I was doing the right things, but I was doing them in a way that sacrificed my well being. See, as Superwoman, I was going and I was going and didn't stop, and living as if my energy was inexhaustible, that supply was just going and going. But it wasn't inexhaustible. And as a result, I eventually began to experience fatigue bordering on exhaustion, and I had a near burnout experience. But I did some things, I made some decisions. And the first is that I took the S off my chest. Ooh, it was by Superwoman. And I put the W on. And that W was for well. I began to operate in wisdom because I needed wisdom in order to focus on my health and my well being. I then elevated my well being so that I could live my best life. And that decision to take S off, to put W on, was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And I never looked back, because for me, there has been and is a thriving life beyond the hustle. So while the hustle culture is here, I broke free. Remember, I said I broke up with busyness. I gave up the grind and I hung up the hustle so that my work life and my professional life, they come together and they thrive. So, are you right now experiencing a schedule, a lifestyle that doesn't allow you to be great and healthy? It doesn't allow you to be bold without burnout. Well, when I share with you today these three ups, and I present them to you for your consideration and say that if you put these three ups into your life, your lifestyle, you can have more energy. You can experience that your lifestyle can be sustainable. I made decisions to put these three ups in my life, and I learned that my well being is a strategic advantage. The three ups are wake up, clean up, and level up. My first up was the wake up, and that is about awareness. If we're going to redefine wellness for women, if we're going to redefine success, if we're going to redefine what it looks like to have work and life come together, we have to be aware of it. We have to know what's happening, what's going on, and we have to become aware that we have normalized overworking, overextension, the hustle, and the grind. And those things, while they get us results, the results are not always sustainable and compatible for overall well being. So we want to ask ourselves, am I stretching myself too thin? Am I overcommitted? Am I overextended? I call some of those the overs. As women, we tend to be prone to the overcommitment, overextension, overgiving, sometimes overthinking. And as a result, we are undernourished. Both hands are up because I've been there. Not only personally, but as a medical doctor and a wellness coach for high achieving women, I hear the stories, and I've heard the stories in my medical career for more than 3 decades. And I've empowered individuals to talk about and recognize stress and manage stress, because it impacts your body from head to toe. It impacts your ability to think. It impacts your ability to be in. For some people, it may impact your bottom line. So this awareness is important. This wake up is important. This wake up is key. So that as we look at schedules, if your schedule is full, if your life is full, you want to be able to create margin. You want to be able to create space so that you have the bandwidth, the capacity in order to be bold and brilliant and to be successful. So that first up was the wake up. The second up is the clean up. Now, this one may be a little more challenging because it requires us to really pause and reflect, and not only to do the external work to look at the schedule and the lifestyle, but also do some internal work. The cleanup is about alignment and it's about boundaries. What you're doing right now, is it in alignment with your purpose, your passion? Is it in alignment with your present day value, or is it outdated? Now, we don't walk around with the Walkmans anymore, right? And we don't have the CD players and we don't have the 8-track players. If you know about the 8-track players, go ahead and shake your head for me. We don't have those anymore. We have ways to stream music and movies that are current, real time, and relevant. And if we're going to get the most enjoyment out of life, we want to make sure that what we're doing, the schedules, the to do list, is real time relevant. And what happens is that as we are living according to the roles of the superwoman or the strong woman, or perhaps as the people pleaser, right? That we may be in roles and we may have some things on our to do list that are outdated. So we want to clean up the schedule, clean up our priority list so that we can have the space to bring in the items that are present, the items that are related to purpose, and those items that are according to our passion. We look at and make sure that we're not living according to someone else's expectations or even our own outdated expectations. So that external evaluation is important, but also that internal reflection is important. And that reflection is about our boundaries as well. Sometimes boundaries can be a bad word, like, ooh, we're not going to have boundaries. Just like for some people, balance the checkbooks, like what? Or budget. Have you ever noticed that the boundaries and the budget and the balance are kind of like bad words? When did that happen? But it's important that we think boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. Boundaries are those protective fences that say this is in and this is out. And what they do is help us to clearly identify and articulate who has access to us, our time and our energy, because we want to be available for the yeses we need in life. And therefore, we have to have some no's that are not relevant to the time, not relevant to the purpose, not relevant to the passion. So we need the boundaries, and the cleanup gives us the ability to clearly identify and articulate boundaries so that we have alignment. And the third up, the UP, is the level up. I was serving everyone else at the highest level, my family, my patients, my church. They got the best of me, but guess who got the rest? And that was me. And as women, we're taught, we're trained, we're socialized to be nurturers. We are excited many times to give and to nourish and to nurture. But what often happens if we aren't careful and intentional is that we begin to little by little neglect ourselves. That we don't pencil in me time. We don't schedule the time to have stillness and to be quiet and to be reflective. And we don't put in place those non negotiables. So we don't prioritize, if we don't schedule in and we don't put in the non negotiables, we tend to have this imbalance where it's more neglect and less nourishment. And ladies, we don't have to burn out. We don't have to come close to burnout. We don't have to be exhausted. We don't have to hustle to have accomplishments and to be successful. Or how about this, to be wealthy and to have reproducible generational income? We may have the hustle for a period of time for that project, to get the degree, to get the promotion, to scale the business, but the hustle to be in the right position and perspective is not going to be most helpful to be a lifestyle, what you think, how you live, who you are. So if we're going to be healthy and happy and satisfied and with sustainable success, knowing that we can let go of the hustle, let go of the busyness, get rid of the grind, and we can have harmony and flow. And when we do that, we are living according to our priorities, according to our rhythms. We are bringing in work and life together to harmonize and to blend, not to compete. While it's not always something that we've heard of, it's not always something that we think of in terms of coaching, right? We think, well, I have a business coach, I have my speech coach, but do we think about who's managing my wellness? Who's helping me to oversee that? We have health coaches in medicine. If you've been in your doctor's office, we talk about that, educating and helping you to understand, how do I make the changes? How do I shift the mind? How do I put some things in place that are just right for me? If we're going to be healthy and happy without hustling, if we're going to be bold and brilliant without burnout, if we're going to be sustainably successful without self sacrifice, then recognizing our well being as our strategic advantage is important. And the three ups that I shared with you today are important. Wake up, have that awareness that the hustle is not what it has to be today. There is another way, an alternative. The cleanup, evaluate your schedule, your life, and be bold and willing to put in those healthy boundaries so you have the capacity, the bandwidth to live the life that you want. And then to level up, make you a priority, make some things non negotiable so that you are well and elevating to live your best life. And remember, your well being can be one of your most powerful advantages, a strategic advantage. Thank you so much. And I'm up here telling you that the level up is real.
Thank you so, so much, Angela. But I do want you to share your contact information because that was such a powerful segment. I know that people want to connect with you, follow you. So definitely share that.
Absolutely. And you know what, Lillie Mae, I also have next week, I'm launching my book. So I will put that and people will connect with me on social media to learn more about this hustle and how we can be healthy. So I will put it in the chat. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And so, without further ado, we're going to bring you another dynamic speaker. I was talking to her the other day, and I think her voice is so amazing. I'm like, you have to do some audiobooks or some audio something, okay? Some audio affirmations. So, let's bring Miss Rosalind Luck to the virtual stage.
Well, hello, hello. That was amazing, Dr. Mack, and something that we all need to hear. I'm Rosalind Luck. I am the founder of the ROL Institute, which is Rise, Own, and Lead. And I equip high performing female leaders to rise in confidence, own their authority, and lead with discipline through structured personal intelligence and spiritual alignment. So I guess I work more in the cleanup area. Dr. Mack, I work in that cleanup for us because in rooms like this where we're all considered high power, it's really hard to say we don't have a strategy because that's the key word these days is you got to have a strategy, you got to have a system. So I think we got that. But for women like us, what's happening is internally, um, we're missing that reflective mirror, I would say. So this evening, I would like to talk about really have a real conversation about the invisible barriers that can exist in successful women and how they shift us so that we can move into our next level with clarity, confidence, and authority. So I'm going to say something that high performing women probably don't hear enough. You're not stuck because of lack of strategy. You're not behind because you don't have enough, because we have plenty. And you're not capped. We're not capped because we don't have access, because visibility, access is everywhere these days if you know how to reach out and get it. We're stalled. And by stalled, I don't mean stopped. I mean just that. We're stalled. And that's because something on inside is negotiating with our next level. So if you're earning and you're earning well, but you're not hitting that six-figure mark, but you're afraid to step outside the box, what's capping you? What's stalling you there? So the truth is, you can build a very successful business. You can be visible, you can be leading, you can be doing all of the things and still be operating with a wounded identity. And we don't like to talk about that because we are the super women. We are the hustlers. And years ago, hustling was the thing to be. I'm a hustler, baby. That's what I am. And many years ago, that was the thing to be. But then we should have come into the know of knowing that that's not necessary. That's not necessary. So Because from the outside, everything looks aligned, we're producing, we're showing up, we're building, we're leading. Internally, there's a hesitation. If I were to be transparent and honest, there's a second guessing, a lot of overthinking. At the very moments that we should be decisive, that we should jump on the bandwagon, we may tend to let an opportunity slip because we don't think that we're quite ready for that room, or we see the letters in front of our sisters' names, the PhDs, the DRs, and all of the alphabet, and we get intimidated. I'm just a coach. I'm just this. So we tend not to enter into those rooms. So today I want to talk about the why behind why we need that cleanup, right? There are opportunities we delay, rooms we shrink in, levels that we approach, but we don't fully step into. And it's not the problem. The problem is we have an identity conflict, right? Most women don't realize is that your next level does not require more effort. It doesn't require more work. It doesn't require a bigger plate. It just requires a different version of you, a different version, a version that you've not seen before, because that's how you step into your next. Your next should not look like where you are right now. So if we trust in the established Forbes and all of the things, we would know if we read that 82% of us operate in some type of internal barrier. 82% of us do not feel like we belong in certain arenas. And if you're here, it may be here that you feel like you don't belong. I'm not saying you're below anybody, but I'm saying we internally think that I'm not quite ready for that room yet. I'm not quite ready for Martha's Vineyard. How many women do you think are sitting back looking at that and thinking, oh no, that's high posh. That's got to be all of the upper echelon. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. So what happens is we feel like we hit a ceiling, but the truth of the matter, it's a ceiling that we've built. Dr. Mack said boundaries are a good thing. They're not bad. They're not walls that we build up to keep people out. That's exactly what we do. When we set a boundary internally, we block out opportunity. So we have to be capable. I want to use that word, capable of flipping that mirror around and looking at ourselves in a transparent manner that says, yes, I am achieved. Yes, I am high earning. Yes, I am. But who's running my ship? What version of me is running this ship? Now, we're going to talk about a few things, a few internal barriers. These are not surface level issues. I'm not talking about the things that everybody talks about. I'm talking about the things that no one talks about, right? I'm talking about those deeper, quieter, unspoken internal barriers that high performing women as ourselves will not get on here and say, hey, I suffer with, right? So the first barrier, and you hear it often, is imposter syndrome. I'm not talking about the watered down version, right? I'm talking about the version of imposter syndrome that's rooted in an unhealed shame, an unhealed guilt. I'm talking about the version of imposter syndrome that says, I should be there. I'm too old to run in that circle. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to bring forward. The kind that makes you feel like you don't fully belong in a room, right? Even though you've earned that seat. You've done the 4 years, the 8 years, the 12 years. Some of us are still in school, right? You've done all of the things, but there are some rooms that you will look at and you will say, not quite ready. What does ready mean? What does ready look like when it comes to invisibility opportunity? It's not because we haven't earned it, or it's not because we're unqualified. It's simply because the past version of you is still speaking to you. And that past version of you causes you to over prepare. It causes you to over explain. It causes you to over prove. I have to prove that I belong in this room. I'm a faith girl. I'm a Jesus girl. So I believe if the door is open, it is my opportunity and I belong wherever I can cross the threshold, right? I'll figure it out when I get in that room, right? But I can have a conversation with the best of them. And you would never know that I don't have a PhD unless you're talking about medicine. Like I can't hang with you there, but I can fake it till I make it, right? So I know how to be a part of a room and you not know and I not stand out like a sore thumb. And that's where we have to go internally, dig deep, find that little girl, find that younger woman that has that angst about being around people we call of power and fit in. Like we belong there. I went to school with you. You didn't see me. I haven't even crossed the threshold of a college, but I went to school with you. You didn't see me there. So we have to learn how to do that. And it's not about putting on airs. You can be your true, authentic self and fit into a room of people that are totally different from you. Until that version is addressed, we will keep trying to outperform a voice that no longer has authority in our lives, but it still has a lot of influence. So we have to learn how to deal with that voice so that that voice is no longer influential and no longer has power, and we can recognize her when she shows up. There's a second barrier that I want to talk about, and that's the fear of visibility. Now, visibility is a big word these days, and we talk about it and we want it. We need it because it becomes validation and credibility. But let's be clear, fear of visibility is not fear of success. It's not fear of success. Many of us already are successful. And what does success mean to you? It could mean different things to different people. We're already there in some instances. It's fear of what comes with being fully seen. I really feel like you can see through me if I stand in this room. Visibility brings about exposure. Exposure to the things. What if they have a conversation where I don't quite fit in? What is the problem that we find with saying, oh, I'm not quite sure about that? I don't know. It's those three words that make us feel like we have just lost the fight. If we have to, in a certain instance, say, I don't really know about that. Tell me more. And that's absolutely okay. That's how you have an interesting conversation and learn along the way so that the next conversation you can be a part of because you just learned something, right? So being visible can expose triggers. And how many of us want to always say that we don't have those? We have triggers. If there's anything that's happened, I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and we talked about traumas that we have. And a lot of us, super women don't deal with what we think, or we haven't had that problem. But there are also silent traumas. There's also the quiet traumas that trickle in, and we're not quite aware that they've hit us like they've hit us, but they show up in triggers. For me, it's when a male figure raises his voice to an octave that I feel is aggressive. I'm either going to match it or I'm going to walk away. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to show up that day, but it just depends. That's a trigger for me because I am a survivor of domestic violence. So that's a trigger for me. When that starts to happen, then I see myself move along in that area. So if I'm not aware that that is a trigger for me, I'm going to handle it wrong. And I'm going to maybe perform myself right out of a grand opportunity because I wasn't quite able to humble myself to see, number one, that I have an underlying trigger that I need to deal with. And number two, how can I operate? It's not going to go away. I'm going to be that survivor. I did it. I survived it. I'm proud about that, the fact that I did that. But that trigger is always going to be in the back of my mind. I have to learn how to handle that. And that's how we are with these barriers that we have hidden so far down till we think it's okay, right? We think I got this. And then we don't recognize when they're showing up. So you show up, you're not fully there, but you show up, you post but not consistently. I might put something out once or twice a week. You speak, but you always hold that story back. Who would stand strong and say, hey, I got beat up every day for a year and a half? Or, people don't want to say that. That's too much. You're going to judge me. And it's you hold something back. It's subtle, but it's just enough to limit your expansion, right? Because if I'm not giving you enough, then I may not be as interesting as my audience or your audience or whatever platform I'm on may need. So we have to show, I'm not saying air your dirty laundry. Please don't confuse that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying deal with your inner enough that you can use it to your advantage. Everything that you go through in life gives you an opportunity to have another story. And that's how I look at it. It gives you an opportunity to be that much more interesting. It gives you an opportunity to possibly pull another sister along the way that's struggling with the same thing you just talked about. And she now knows that, hey, I'm not the only one. I can get through this. I can still prevail and be transparent. My third barrier is the big one, and I kind of just touched on it, but it's trauma-based decision making. Trauma-based decision making. And this is where the rubber meets the road. It kind of gets real here because some of the decisions that we're making in our business are not strategic, right? They're protective. You hesitate to raise your prices, not because your value isn't there, but because you fear losing clients. You fear not gaining more clients. So you overwork yourself, you prepare all this material, you put all this good information out, and then you undercut yourself on the back end by worrying about who's going to need this information. You avoid hiring or delegating because who can do it better than me, right? Not because you need the support or you don't need the support, but it's because, I've been hurt before. I tried to let you do it before and it got messed up. And instead of me teaching you how to do it, I just told you to go away. And then I kept everybody away. That's another example of building not a boundary, but a wall. Okay. So we have to learn how to share the wealth, right? Share the load. Because as you get larger, as you blow up, you can't house that same explosion in the same package. And that's the package of one. You have to have a team. You have to have a capable team that's ready. And you may say, some of us that are watching, I'm not prepared yet. I'm not ready for that yet. Then you carry what you can carry and you outsource what needs to be outsourced. And you do the best you can by making sure you take care of you, because with you is where the information and the goodies and the gold lies. And we got to get that out. So if you're overworked and overbearing because you're trying to do it all, you're not going to be any good to anybody. And you're going to give out subpar, if at most, work. And we don't want that because our name is what carries us in these last and evil days. You delay scaling. And how many of us have made that decision? I'm not ready to get that second building. I'm not ready to launch that second stream or that third stream or that fourth stream. I'm just going to hold tight right here. I'm making good money. I'm paying my bills. Everything is golden. I'm going to stay right here. When your decisions are rooted in protection instead of vision, instead of purpose, your business cannot expand beyond what feels emotionally safe. Emotionally safe. So we operate out of a knee-jerk response and say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. My fourth barrier is what I call the strong woman trap. Many of us have mastered that. It's called survival, right? We've learned how to carry, we've learned how to manage, we've learned how to push through, how to handle everything on our own. And we kind of touched on this in other parts. And that strength has served us well. Many of us can say that we got arms of steel because we've carried that load, and we're proud of that because I did it. But on the back end, I'm dragging both legs and a whole lot of other bags behind me because I'm on the backside, I'm struggling. And that strength has served us, but it's got us here. And what got us here won't do what, ladies? Get us there. It won't get us there. Number one, you're not going to have the strength to go there. So, because that next level of leadership requires support, it's going to require that delegation and that trust. If we identify and that our identity is still rooted in being the one who handles everything, we will unconsciously resist the very systems that people have designed, that we have designed, that have been designed to help us grow. My fifth and final barrier is the internal identity misalignment. This is where our current identity and our next level identity are at war. Excuse me. You say, I want expansion. Internally, you're still anchored to who you've always been, right? You say, I want to rise up. I want to be more visible. Internally, you ain't quite got the money that you need to work in that circle. You don't have the team that you need in place. If you call yourself a CEO and it's just you, then are you really a CEO? So you have to work through that second guessing phase, that pullback stage, right? That drawback, not because you don't want it, but because you don't fully see yourself as a woman who can hold it all together at that level. And here's the truth. You don't rise to your goals. You fall back to your identity. And when you fall back to your identity, you missed those opportunities that arise. And ladies, let me be clear, opportunities arise daily. You got to know where they are. You got to know where to look, and you got to go get them. You got to go get them. It's rare, and it's a grand blessing when one falls in your lap that is so astronomical that, that's the one, who did that, right? You know who did it because you didn't do nothing. So if we don't go get those opportunities, if we don't make ourselves ready for those opportunities, we miss opportunities. And we're so much more than that. We are so much more than missed opportunities. So the question becomes, how do you shift? How do you move from internal conflict to internal alignment? And this is where I introduce what's called the ROL framework. Rise, own, lead, right? Because our next level is not waiting on a new strategy. It's waiting on a new standard of self-leadership. It's waiting on us to come up. You have to rise. Rising is not about elevation. That's not what I'm talking about. It's about awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to confront. So we have to turn that internal mirror in. We have to find out what our internal barriers are. And I guarantee you, we all have at least one. 82%. You're not going to tell me that everybody watching is in the upper echelon of that 82%. Somebody has a trigger. Somebody has an internal barrier. We have to figure it out. Refuse to let that lie. Refuse to allow that to lead your business. Rising requires us to identify the patterns that are running our businesses in the background. All right. The silent experiences that have shaped how we show up are the things that we need to ensure that we touch on. And then you have to own it. Take ownership of where many people disconnect because they confuse ownership with blame. I'm not blaming. I'm not saying that we have to take the blame for anything. We just need to own it, understand how to operate in it, and then move forward. This is how I choose me. I choose to show up like this and lead. Ownership is where your power is restored. If you think you're powerful now, take ownership and watch how you flourish. And then you have to lead, not externally. I'm talking about leading yourself first, leading internally first, because leadership is not what you do on stage. It's not what you do online. It's not even what you do in your business. It's what you do in private. It's that private work that you have to do. It's how you manage yourself when no one's watching. It's how you make decisions when fear is present. It's how you move when you don't feel ready. It is how you execute without overthinking, without overprocessing, and waiting for the perfect conditions. You need stronger self-leadership, and it starts with just turning the mirror around. So let me ask you one thing, and I want you to let this sit with you. Where in my life am I silently allowing my past to determine my next level? In a world where systems are evolving, where technology is accelerating, where opportunities are expanding, the woman who rises will not simply be the most talented. She will be the most healed woman that you have ever seen. She will know herself. She will take those breaks. She will clean up. She will wake up, clean up, and she will level up. And she will be all of the things. So, if you want your next level, it's not just about building a better business, it's about becoming a stronger leader in yourself because the version of you that got you here, remember, it won't take you there. So remember the ROL, rise in awareness, own your authority, lead without hesitation. I am Rosalind Luck, and it has been an absolute pleasure to share with you on this evening. Thank you so much, Lillie, for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, this was such an aligned pairing, having you two back to back like that. Y'all were pouring into me. I'm like taking notes. I'm back here like, yes, like all the things. This was such an aligned pairing with you two. And the ironic part is that if you are catching this replay, you can actually meet both of them, okay, this summer at our Essence Festival brunch on July 5th. What are the odds of that? And you can meet me too, right? So if you could imagine this energy that you feel through the computer screen in real person, in live and live in color, and we're going to have other dynamic speakers, panelists, music, all the things. I urge you, if you haven't made plans to meet us in New Orleans, that you make plans to do so. You can visit NOLA brunch.eventbrite.com to grab your tickets. NOLA brunch eventbrite.com to grab your tickets. This brunch that I host every year at Essence Fest, it always sells out. The attire is all white. It's such a great time. And I know this year Essence Fest just announced that Tiana Taylor is one of their creative ambassadors. So I think this year at Essence Fest is going to be the year to be present. And we urge you to meet us all at the brunch. This was such an aligned conversation. When I think about all of the topics that you all covered, it really was helping, to get people thinking about what is stopping them from their next level. Because
Mhm.
I feel like there are these silent things that we are not recognizing, but we're wondering why we're in the hamster wheel. And it's because of the things that you guys talked about, like not willing to wake up and clean up and level up, balance, boundaries, harmony, alignment, all of those things, internalizing defeats, identity conflicts, and being too attached to the old version of ourselves.
Mhm.
I said this recently to someone on a podcast. I think I said it yesterday on a podcast how, although around the world they celebrate New Year on like January 1st, that we get to decide when our New Year is. Okay. Like
Absolutely.
today could
Absolutely.
be
Mhm.
your new
New
year.
Year.
Like after you've heard these dynamic women entrepreneurs, these dynamic speakers pour into you, give you the things that you need to think about, and offer opportunities to work with you so that you're not alone in the transition into your next, there's no reason to be tied to the past version of yourself. You can literally decide now, hey, happy new year. Okay, it's my new year. I'm going to show up differently. I'm going to partner with one of these dynamic ladies so that they can help me. That's the other thing I feel like that many women entrepreneurs fail to do is partner with someone, work with someone, hire a coach, get into a program
Mhm.
so that you have the support you need. Because the thing that happens similar to church, you go to church on Sunday, you feel amazing, but then when you go to work on Monday and deal with those devils at work, you're in a bad mood again.
You're in a bad mood.
You're in a bad mood yet again. And so it's important that, you not only go to church on Sunday, but that you go to Bible study on Wednesday, that you open up your Bible, that you pray, that you do those things along the way. Likewise, when we're talking about getting to our next level, it's important that you connect with someone like Dr. Angela, connect with Roz, connect with someone like me, so that you're not alone. And then when those limiting beliefs, catch you off guard, you're back where you started. You want to have someone in the pocket that you can text, that you can email, that you can call, that you can work with, that can keep you motivated, keep you encouraged, and remind you of who God has called you to be. I feel like God has called us all to greater levels, to greater success, to more money. I was actually listening to an audiobook today by Amanda Francis. She's on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I watch all the housewives, y'all. Please don't judge my life. But the interesting thing about Amanda Frances is that she's totally self-made. So she, had humble beginnings. She didn't have any investors. She didn't have rich parents or any of those things. She's totally self-made. And she uses biblical principles to attract money and opportunities and coach other women. And I thought it was so interesting that when I was listening to a chapter today, she said that she makes $600,000 a month. Okay. This woman makes $600,000 a month. And there's nothing different about her than it is from the rest of us. She has the same 24 hours that we have, but she's done that internal work that Roz and Dr. Angela was talking about to really silence all of the criticism, to really recognize all the things that need to be cleaned out internally so that she could walk into that wealth. And I feel like, man, when I think about all of the people that I know are great, that I know are smart, I'm wondering why aren't we walking in that wealth? And I think that the things that Dr. Angela and Ross touched on give us the blueprint to what we're missing, to why we aren't walking in that wealth. So I think this is a day for all of us to say Happy New Year because we've heard the insights that we need to hear to get to our next level. It's just up to us to make the changes. It's up to us to decide who to partner with, Dr. Angela, Roz, or Lillie Mae, right? So that we can walk into that next level. So when I say this was highly aligned, this was highly aligned. Now, we also have a pre-recording from another speaker, Dr. Linda Barnes, who wasn't available to join us during this recording, but she was able to pre-record it. So I'm going to play that. She is no stranger to the Glambitious platform as well. And I know she was a speaker at my Atlanta conference. She's definitely been in the building in person as well. So let me pull up the replay from Dr. Angela. But before I do that, I just want to give both ladies the chance to verbalize their contact information on screen. So Dr. Angela, if you could just tell everyone, your contact information, and then Roz, if you could do the same, and then I'll get over to Dr. Linda's pre-recording.
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. So on Facebook, I'm found at Angela Hardin Mack. On LinkedIn, Dr. Angela Hardin Mack. And IG, Instagram is Dr. ANGHM Speaks. And I will put the website for the company in livegreatlives.com. Thank you, Lillie Mae.
Of course. And go ahead, Roz, share your contact information once again.
Okay. On Facebook, I'm at roz.luck.1. Instagram is at Coach Roz. And LinkedIn is at roz-o-luck. And my website is posted www.rosalindluck.com.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I want all of you tuned in to make sure that you connect with the ladies, that you hop on a discovery call, check out a book if they have, whatever they're offering. I encourage you to tap into it. And again, you can meet us in person this summer during Essence Festival by visiting nolabrunch.eventbrite.com. So I'm going to bring Dr. Linda's pre-recorded message to the screen here so we can hear from her, and then we'll wrap up the summit.
And I am Dr. Linda Barnes, also known as the Success Doctor, and I am truly honored to be here. My message today is called When a Woman Finds Her Voice, Faith, Healing, and the Courage to Build. And here is a truth I want to center from the very beginning. When a woman finds her voice, she stops living only from what she survived and starts building from what God placed inside of her. I believe there are many women who know what it means to keep going while carrying pain, to show up while still hurting, and smile while silently rebuilding, to hold family together, to lead, to serve, to produce, to pour, and even keep moving when life has tried to break something on the inside. And for many women, the issue is not that they have nothing to say. The issue is that life, pain, disappointment, fear, trauma, rejection, and responsibility have all tried to bury their voices. I know something about that. I know what it means to survive hard things. I know what it means to carry pain and still have purpose. I know what it means to move through life as a woman of faith while also having to heal from childhood trauma, from domestic violence, from disappointment, and from pressure. And I also know this: God still knows how to call a woman forward even after life has tried to silence her. So today I want to share 5 truths with you. 5 truths about faith, healing, voice, and courage. And my prayer is that something in this message reminds you that your voice still matters, your healing still matters, and what God gave you to build still matters too. So my first point is many women do not lose their voice, they bury it under survival. Let's start here. A lot of women have not actually lost their voice, they have buried it under survival. They have been in survival mode for so long that they no longer know the difference between functioning and flourishing. They know how to get things done. They know how to keep moving. They know how to handle business. They know how to take care of everybody else. But somewhere in the process, they stopped listening to themselves. They stopped honoring what they needed. They stopped trusting what God showed them. They stopped making room for their own voice because survival made urgency louder than identity. And survival has a way of doing that. Survival teaches you how to cope, but it does not always teach you how to live whole. Survival teaches you how to push, but it does not always teach you how to process. Survival teaches you how to stay in motion, but it does not always teach you how to stay connected to who you are. There are women in this room and women who will hear this message who have spent years being strong, but strength without healing can turn into silence. Because when you are always in go mode, you do not always stop long enough to ask, what do I really believe? What do I really need? What has God really said about me? What am I really called to build? And I want to say this plainly. You are not behind because you had to survive. You are not disqualified because life was hard. You are not weak because there were seasons when all you could do was make it through the day. But there comes a point where survival cannot be your permanent address. There comes a point where God starts calling you out of just getting by and into becoming who you are and what God called you, into healing, into clarity, and into wholeness. Also into courage and into a voice that God gave you. And for some women, finding your voice is not about becoming louder. It's about becoming honest with yourself again. Honest about what hurt, honest about what matters, honest about what God is calling you to do. My second point is faith helps a woman recover what pain tried to take. Because when life wounds you, you need more than motivation. You need more than a quote. You need more than hype. You need something deeper. You need something stable. You need something eternal. You need faith. Faith reminds you that what happened to you is not the whole story. Faith reminds you that even when life is messy, God is still intentional. Faith reminds you that pain may shape seasons, but it does not get to rewrite your identity. And this matters because when a woman has been through enough, she can start believing the lies that sound like truth. Lies like maybe I'm too damaged. Maybe it's too late for me. Maybe I missed my moment. Maybe my voice does not matter. Maybe I should just stay small. Maybe I should just stay quiet. Maybe I should just stick to what feels safe. But faith interrupts those lies. Faith says, God still has a purpose for me. God still has oil for me. God still has a future for me. God still has instructions for me. God still has something for me to build. There were seasons in my life where faith had to carry me before clarity showed up. Faith had to hold me while I was healing. Faith had to strengthen me while I was rebuilding. Faith had to remind me that I was more than what I've been through. And that is what faith does. Faith does not always give you the full blueprint on day one, but it gives you enough light for the next step. And sometimes finding your voice starts with one step, one simple prayer. God, help me trust you again. God, help me hear you again. God, help me hear you clearly. God, help me stop shrinking. God, help me to walk in truth. God, help me to build what you put in me. That is where many women find their voice again. Not in performance, not in perfection, but in a relationship with God. The third truth is this: healing is not a weakness. Healing is part of the build. And I need to say that because too many women have been taught to perform strength instead of pursue wholeness. They know how to keep going. They know how to stay productive. They know how to pour into others. They have not given themselves permission to heal. And the truth is, unhealed pain will speak for you if you don't deal with it. It will speak in your relationships. It will speak in your leadership. It will speak in your boundaries. It will speak in your business. It will also speak in your decisions. It will speak in how you show up. If you don't heal, you may call fear wisdom. If you don't heal, you may call hiding humility. If you don't heal, you may call self-abandonment sacrifice. If you don't heal, you may keep saying yes to what drains you and not to what God is actually calling you toward. Healing matters because you cannot fully build from a place you refuse to acknowledge. And I'm not saying healing is easy. It is not. Healing requires honesty. Healing requires surrender. Healing requires confronting what you would rather avoid. Healing requires letting God into places you keep locked. But healing is holy work. Healing is necessary work. Healing is strategic work. And one of the strongest things a woman can do is decide that she will not keep building from broken patterns. She would not keep living from wounds she refuses to address. She would not keep calling dysfunctional normal. She would not keep repeating cycles that God is trying to break. That takes courage. That takes humility. That takes faith. But this is also how a woman becomes free. Not fake free, not social media free, actually free. Free to speak, free to choose, free to build, free to lead, and free to become. The fourth truth is, when a woman finds her voice, she stops minimizing what she carries. She stops acting like her story is small. She stops acting like her wisdom is accidental. She stops acting like her calling is optional. She stops acting like she has to stay quiet to make others feel comfortable. Some women have spent years playing down what God has put in them. They dim their light. They soften their truth. They hide their brilliance. They apologize for their strength. They question their value. And many times it is because somewhere along the way, they were taught that being visible is dangerous, that being bold is too much, that speaking clearly is prideful, that building openly will invite criticism. So they shrink, they delay, they hold back, they wait for permission. But here's what I came to tell you. You don't need permission to be who God already called you to be. Your voice is not just about volume. It's about truth. It's about alignment. It's about being honest about what you know, what you have learned, what you have survived, and what you are now equipped to carry. Some of the things you went through was not random. Some of the things you overcome have shaped your authority. Some of the pain you survived gave your voice weight. Some of the healing you fought for gave your language that other women needs to hear. Your story matters. Your testimony matters. Your insight matters. Your obedience matters. And yes, what you are building matters too. Whether that is a business, a ministry, a platform, a community, a movement, a family legacy, or a new life after pain, it matters. And when a woman really finds her voice, she stops introducing herself from her wounds and start standing in her assignment. Here is the fifth and final truth. Courage is building even when you're still stretching. Courage is not about the absence of fear. Courage is movement in the presence of it. Courage is saying, I may not have every detail, but I know I cannot stay where I am. Courage is saying, I may still be healing, but I'm no longer hiding. Courage is saying, I may feel stretched, but I will still obey. And this is important because many women think they need to feel fully ready before they move. But readiness is overrated. Obedience matters more. There are things God would not fully explain until you move. There are doors that will not open until you act. There are answers that do not come until you build. There are parts of your voice you do not even discover until you stop waiting and start walking. So courage looks like applying anyway, launching anyway, speaking anyway, setting the boundaries anyway, telling the truth anyway, writing the book anyway, starting that business anyway, leading the room anyway, building that thing anyway. And I want to expand the word build for a moment because building is not just about entrepreneurship. Building can mean building peace, building discipline, building confidence, building a healthy life, building a stronger mindset, building a ministry, building a legacy, building the version of yourself that trauma tried to keep from emerging. And every time a woman chooses courage, she does not just impact herself, she affects generations. Because when one woman finds her voice, other women start believing they can find theirs too. When one woman heals, other women get permission to heal as well. When one woman rises, other women see what is possible. When one woman builds, she leaves evidence that purpose can survive pain. So let me leave you with this. Your voice still matters. Your healing still matters. And what God gave you to build still matters. Don't let pain make you play small. Don't let fear make you stay silent. Don't let your history convince you that your future has been canceled. When a woman finds her voice through faith, allow healing to do its work, and choose the courage to build, she does not just change her life. She shifts everything around her. I am Dr. Linda Barnes, the Success Doctor, founder of the Shopreneur Movement, and it has been an honor to share with you today. You can connect with me on across all social media at Dr. Linda Barnes, and that is DrLyndaBarnes across all social media. My website is also www.drlindabarnes.com. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that was so awesome. Many thanks to Dr. Linda Barnes for submitting a pre-recorded segment for the summit. As I mentioned, she was one of our speakers at the Atlanta conference. And so I'm excited to bring our last but not least final speaker all the way from the UK. Okay, the Glambitious brand is worldwide. If you didn't know, now you know. Okay, so we're going to bring Miss Sonia to the virtual stage. Sonia, please introduce yourself and go ahead, take it away.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hello, everybody. And it's coming up to 5 minutes past 11 in the UK PM. So it's quite late for me, but I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much. My name is Sonia Mae Eldergill, and I'm a confidence and identity coach, and I activate women partners of alcoholics to stop coping and start focusing on themselves so that they can live a life that is thriving and that they find their purpose and to be the woman that they're supposed to be. I want to ask you all a question. How often do you feel that you are powerless in whatever daily life throws at you? I know I have. I've spent 20 lived years experience living with an alcoholic partner who's now thankfully 10 years sober. And I used to be the woman that I mourned years ago, where I felt lonely. It was a silent, lonely battle living with an alcoholic. I thought that if I loved him strong enough, that I could use all my feminine charm and my power to fix him. And that wasn't the case. Unfortunately for me, over time, I lost my confidence. I felt powerless. I lost my voice because as women, we are programmed from a very early age to think that we have to shrink ourselves to fit in with societal norms. And I became that woman. I became that person who shrank, and I obsessed over spending all of my waking hours trying to fix my husband. I was his therapist. I was his sponsor. I felt it was my job to fix him and to cure him. So anyone who lives with someone who struggles with alcohol, know this, that you are worthy. You have the power within you. It's your superpower. And I found that helping women in the same situation as myself, I will hold their hand. I now do that with grace. I hold their hand and I support them, because sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we feel completely lost and we need that guidance. We need to pray to a higher power to guide us and to know that we are worthy. So, through my 5 step methodology, I take women on a journey of self discovery. and we go deep and we talk and we work through how to be unapologetic, being confident. There's nothing wrong with being confident and standing in your power as a woman. I take them through how to rebuild their identity so that they can walk in their truth and become their true authentic self and not shrink to suit somebody else's situation or to make others feel comfortable. And another third thing that I take women through is to practice unconditional love. And I think that is the greatest gift you can give yourself, to pour and focus and make yourself front and center of your life. And fourthly, to let them know that they are worthy. And the last thing that I take them through, a part of my methodology, is to use the power of silence. And that is to reconnect with yourself and discover who you truly are at the core level. And reclaiming your power means reconnecting with your voice. And I want you to imagine that if you trust what it would be like to trust your own voice, to know that instead of doubting yourself, you have the power to change your life, and it starts from the inside out. And imagine what knowing your worth means, knowing that you know yourself so deeply that you don't need to no longer shrink to keep others comfortable. And know this, that your life was never meant to revolve around someone else's addiction, that your life was meant to belong to you. So I say to anyone out there, are you ready to reclaim your power? This is exactly the work that I do with women inside my coaching program, guiding and supporting women who are currently in alcohol affected relationships to help them to stop coping, reconnect with their voice, their worth, and unleash that power within so that they can flourish and thrive to live the life that they truly deserve. And I'd like to say, if anyone out there who recognizes themselves and they're ready to reclaim their power, then I'd love to support you. I'm just going to put on the screen just so that anyone who would like to know how to work with me, can I show, I've got a QR code is it okay to show a QR code?
Yeah, if it allows you to share your
Okay.
screen, sure.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So if you just like to work with me, if you feel guided to do so, just scan the QR code. I'm offering for this summit only a free power hour call with me, and that allows us to see whether we are a perfect fit for each other and for you to see whether your healing journey, what it would look like working with me. You can connect with me on Instagram and on Facebook, and just scan the QR code because I'm going to put it down very shortly. So if you're feeling guided to find out what it's like to work with me, it's normally $145, but it's free for this summit only. And just to let you know that because the moment a woman decides to reclaim her power, everything else begins to change. And your life deserves to be one you truly love living. And it is the moment that you step back into your power. And I'd like to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. And can you also just let everyone know what your Instagram and information is audibly?
Yep, if you, My handle is on Instagram at Sonia May Eldergill Coach, and my Facebook, just type in Sonia Eldergill.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. I know it's late in the UK and I appreciate you joining and sharing the work that you do because I think it's very important work. As women, we have so many different shared experiences and oftentimes we don't know what the next woman is enduring. And so I appreciate that you've used a painful moment in your life as a catalyst to help other women who may be enduring that silently. And I just think, that's the power of us all being willing to use our voices and our experiences to elevate the next woman. So thank you all who tuned in to this replay of the top voices of 2026. The purpose of the Glambitious platform is to elevate women from all backgrounds of all facets around the world so that their voices can be heard. So if you too desire for your voice to be heard, you have a story, you have a business, you have a brand, you have a book, I invite you to my platform. You can visit hervisibility.com to check out a freebie I've created with some steps to help guide you into more visibility as well. Again, that's hervisibility.com. And as I mentioned earlier in the summit, this gets to be the day that you decide it's your new year so that you can release the bad habits, the bad thoughts, and things of that nature and really walk into a brighter year, a brighter season. So I encourage you to put in the chat, in the comments, Happy New Year. If you're watching this replay, Happy New Year, okay? Because I'm believing that the rest of this year is truly going to be the best of this year. I invite you to partner with the dynamic ladies that you saw tonight, whether it's Dr. Angela, Coach Roz, Sonia, Dr. Linda, or myself, so that you have a partner in your next and you're not walking this journey alone. And I also encourage you to follow me on Instagram at I am Lillie Mae and just let me know what you thought about the summit. These summits I host virtually every month so that voices from around the world can come and share and inspire and encourage you. So again, thank you to the dynamic speakers for showing their time. Everyone have a blessed day.